E aí, time, como vocês estão? Hoje eu tô muito feliz. Eu vou trazer um vídeo incrível para vocês, que é com um recrutador aqui do Canadá, que é amigo meu, ele que me encontrou inclusive para a vaga que eu tô atualmente. Eu também tinha feito o teste para uma outra vaga que eu acabei passando, mas eu acabei não escolhendo aquela empresa, mas quem me achou foi esse recrutador. Então, ele é uma ótima pessoa, ele aceitou, vai aparecer aqui no canal para trazer todo esse conteúdo para vocês aqui. Então, muito obrigado, Matthew. Thank you, Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Esse vídeo, ele vai ser dividido em duas partes, tá? Então eu fiz uma parte aqui mais voltada para o LinkedIn com ele, e a gente vai ter outra parte que é mais voltada para entrevistas, tá? Então eu tentei dividir ali para que não ficasse muito grande o vídeo. Então, a gente vai falar nesse vídeo aqui sobre como deixar o seu LinkedIn perfeito. Óbvio, a gente tá falando aqui na visão de um recrutador, porém, ele já tá na indústria há muito tempo e ele entende muito bem disso e como que você deve deixar o seu LinkedIn mais aparente, mais bonito, o que você pode fazer no LinkedIn para conseguir o seu emprego mais rápido, ou se você quer um emprego tão específico em uma empresa específica, ok? Então, eu espero que vocês gostem muito, foi muito legal fazer. Eu sou o Manny, eu trabalho e moro no Canadá e bora pro vídeo. Okay, team, so first of all, it's the first time that I'm speaking English on the channel, so I hope you like it. If you don't like it, I am always trying to make my English better, but anyway. I'm here with a great person, a great special person for me, which is one of the recruiters that I worked with on the last months and the last years. We already know each other like 2 years already. So
since you came here, since before you came here.
Before I came to Canada. That's true. And he's a great guy. He's the tech recruiter who found me the job that I'm right now, that found myself, right? And his name is Matthew. Matthew, thank you very much for coming. It's a great, great pleasure, and I hope you like it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Matthew, first of all, if you briefly could share with us your experience as a tech recruiter, your name too, if you want to also to share your LinkedIn or anything like that, you can do too. So please.
Good stuff. Well, I appreciate you again once to add me to the channel here, and I'll do my best to answer as much as I can. My name is Matthew Showman. I am the founder of Talent Tank Recruiting. We're a staffing agency here in Canada, and we work with companies that hire for people within software across Canada on both a permanent as well as a contractual basis. Most of our clients are smaller to mid-sized businesses, although we do work with the larger companies as well. I got into IT recruiting, I think it was 2013 after school. I worked for a company. 2013, 2014, I became a manager at that company. I was hiring people, training people, and all of that. And then in 2016, I decided to leave that company, start my own company. So Talent Tank Recruiting, I founded in 2016. And it's been 7 years of working with companies across Canada, helping them hire people within tech.
Nice. Great. That's a great resume. Now I will do some questions. We are going to do like I ask, and you can also answer anytime you prefer. So the first one, this is something that I've been hitting all the time on my channel, and I would like to hear from you. How important is LinkedIn for a candidate? If it's new candidate or if it's already working on long time road on a company, how important is it for the tech world?
So this is a question I get quite a bit, and LinkedIn is very popular in North America. It's not as popular in other parts of the world. So a lot of newcomers that come in may not have LinkedIn, or a lot of people that have been at jobs for the last 10, 15 years also may not have had a need to get on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is not only for job searching and stuff, but really, I think a lot of it is for networking, having your own public image, but networking, educational purposes, connecting with people, the whole social media aspect of it as well. These days, I would say LinkedIn is fairly crucial when applying for jobs, especially. The reason being, I mean, there's many reasons we can go through, but some of the main reasons that I've noticed is no longer is a resume just the only thing that employers, hiring managers, HR look at. They look and they try to find out who you are. They potentially will even Google your name to see if there's anything else public out there for you. So having a LinkedIn profile that honestly is very similar to your resume. You put all the details in there. The more details, almost the better. And in general, I think having a active LinkedIn with connections, with you posting stuff and reading articles and liking postings just makes your application more human, and that way it'll increase the chances of someone wanting to speak with you.
Okay, so what you said, if I'm active on LinkedIn, if I do stuff, if I create posts, if I'm reacting everything, and even commenting on posts, this makes my chances of being like seen on the world of tech like easier, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right.
And the other way is that if you don't have LinkedIn and I get a resume and I'm interested in you, the confidence level decreases when you don't have LinkedIn. I can't find who you are. I don't know who you are. Is it just a resume? Is there a person behind this? So I think having a resume there is great. You need a resume still. Most of these systems require a resume to submit, but having a LinkedIn profile, and most of my clients, I actually have a lot of these different systems that people apply to, and each one asks me for a resume and also asks me for a LinkedIn URL. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, you're not as competitive as others.
Yeah, almost like invisible, right? It makes sense. Great. Now we know that. And you mentioned that our LinkedIn is very similar to our resume. What kind of informations do you see, like you were searching for a new QA or developer, it doesn't really matter. But when you look to their LinkedIn, what do you see that makes you feel like, okay, this guy is the right person for the job? What kinds of like highlights maybe on the about section or in the experience section? What types of things you are searching for to understand, okay, this guy is the right person for the role that I'm looking for, or is not that much?
Yeah. So I think having a LinkedIn is step one,
Yeah.
but enhancing your LinkedIn is important as well. So sometimes, just like your resume, you could always make variations and always change things up. But the first thing I would do is, I guess you could start from the resume and bring it into your LinkedIn, or start from your LinkedIn and bring it to your resume, right? Like it does depends on
Yeah.
where you start, right? Chicken
Makes
or the
sense.
egg, right? But
True.
really what you're trying to do is break down your experience. For me, the about us section is important, but usually naturally people scan down to your education fairly quickly, right?
Mhm.
How do they get to your resume is usually it's a Boolean search, it's buzzword searching. So having in your about us section, as well as having in your different jobs, what tool belt, what tech stack you used, will likely help people find you, right? So if you are in automation and you're using the JavaScript testing toolkit, JavaScript, TypeScript, whatever, Cypress, the Jest,
Mhm.
Nightwatch, whatever the case may be, having those at least once, likely 2 or 3 times within your LinkedIn profile, it's almost like SEO. It will allow you, it'll bump you up, right? So people will see you more frequently or see you. Having obviously your company name out there, your title, and then I would for sure add details of what you've done to each section as well, just because not only do people care about the tool belt you used at that job, but also what you've done for that company. And I think that's important as well.
Okay. All right. So that means that more times I use like the words that I'm working with. So if I'm working with Cypress, if I'm working with JavaScript, I should be using those words even on the about section and the experience section, even though I'm repeating myself, like I am appear first than others. Is
I
that
think what's important is in this about us section, you're giving a broad sense of what you've done and you're giving the tool belt that you use. Within each company, you're then breaking down at this company, I used this. At that company, I use that. And or reinforcing that the last 3 companies I've used the same tech stack in the last 3 companies, which again, it doesn't have to be a huge portion of it, just even a one-liner identifying at this company, this is my tech stack, or these are the tools that I used. So yeah, I would repeat it more than once.
all right? All right. And I have one more question is I know that the headline is very important, right? Because you see what the person works with, or okay, if you are a QA engineer, if you are like a manual tester or something like that, it's usually on the headlines. But I also see a lot of things which is people saying what they do, so what they are working with, like, oh, I'm a QA engineer, and then there is a bar separating it with like JavaScript, Cypress, and saying what all the technologies that they are using. There is a lot of sense that people think that this is good and there's people think that this is not that good, but as a recruiting, seeing and understanding the candidate's page, do you think that changed something, or is it good for searching or something like that?
I think the reason why people do it is more so what not to be reached out for. And what I mean by that is if you put automation tester, but you're using Cypress for this example, you don't want necessarily every recruiter that's using Java Selenium or Python Selenium reaching out to you. So they're clarifying, saying, I'm an automation engineer and this is what I use, right?
Okay.
These are the types. So I think the reason why is they're publicizing that I'm using JavaScript and TypeScript. I'm not interested in Python, C
Mm,
Sharp, and Java Selenium. I want to use these bleeding edge technologies, for instance. I think that's how they're trying to differentiate themselves. Otherwise, you could just have, I mean, there's multiple things you could have. You could have looking, you could have remote roles only, you could have automation tester. With these tools, you can have, for instance, if they're newcomers coming to Canada, you can have valid open work permit, right? So you can identify saying, I'm looking for work and I'm able to work in Canada or the States or wherever they're trying to go. Because naturally, if no one has no Canadian experience and no Canadian education, people may think that you need sponsorship,
all right. Yeah,
right?
that's true.
However, maybe you don't need sponsorship. You got in here through a different channel to identify I'm in Canada or I'm moving to Canada and I'm able to work legally within the company. People can add that to their headline as well.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. I'm asking those questions because now there is a bunch of AI tools that I use and I like to use because it helps a lot. And part of these tools tells you that you need some specific informations on the headline. And these informations are not always the best ones. Like if I'm starting as a QA and I'm searching for a job, probably making things more specific, like saying, oh, I use Cypress, I use JavaScript, maybe can be a little bit worse to find a job on different positions, right?
For sure. So yeah, if you're not a specialist in something and you're junior level looking for work, I would leave it very open. I would leave it
Okay.
more broad. So you could leave it as recent grad looking for developer or testing roles, for instance. If you want to leave
Okay.
it completely open, or don't put the language in there or the tool belt in there and just say recent grad looking for testing roles or
Okay.
recent grad looking for developer roles, right? Because yeah, you're not an expert in anything likely, and what you're trying to do is you're just trying to find your first job. So then the resume or the LinkedIn would be different. You would talk about I'm trainable, I'm coachable, here are my personal projects that I've worked on, this is what I've studied, here are the internships that I've done, or here's the co-ops that I've done. So you're still trying to add buzzwords and still your experience, but likely someone's not hiring you for your experience. They're hiring you for where you'll be in 6 months from now. So I think
Okay.
at that point, it's important to just show who you are, what your interests are, what you've studied. And again, personal projects, co-ops, internships, anything that will set you apart from someone else.
All right. So this is you actually start to answer the next question, which is great. But the next question would be if I'm a junior and I wanted to start with QA or development, what would be the things that you'd say that would help me as a junior QA to start it on my LinkedIn? So one of them is the headline. So, okay, I'm trying to find jobs related to QA or testing and do not be as specific as looking something for Cypress or JavaScript. You can say, oh, I'm doing web automations, API automations, this kind of stuff.
Now, still, sorry, just to add to that, still, if you've used Java or with Selenium or
All
you've
right.
used JavaScript with Cypress, I would still add that because if you've just finished a personal project using a specific set of languages and tools, you're likely strongest with that. So if someone's going to hire you today for that, that'd be great. But there's a fine line before saying I'm an expert in this and this is what the only thing I want versus I'm open to different roles, although this is what I've done in my recent projects,
Okay.
right?
Yeah, makes sense.
But to answer your question, what I would add, I think anything and everything that can be valuable, both on a professional level as well as a personal level, to set yourself apart from someone else, is what you want on your LinkedIn and your resume. So, LinkedIn profile, you want it on your resume. Your Stack Overflow, your GitHub, your Medium, if you have one, if you have any blogs or your personal website, I would throw everything online in here just because, again, as a hiring manager or an HR or a CEO, when I get an application or when I'm speaking to someone, I want to learn who they are beyond their resume,
Mm-hmm.
beyond their LinkedIn. So if I could go on to their GitHub and I see they're super active, they've got repos on there and stuff like that, I'm more confident this person knows what they're doing. And I can even read their code potentially if they've got code on there. If I see their personal website, which may have both professional, this is what I've done, these are the websites I've built, these are the case studies I've done for testing, for instance, but also has their personal projects, photography, YouTube channel, and stuff like that, I could learn who this person is and say, you know what, this person is active. This person is not just treating programming for a 9 to 5 day job. They're passionate about this. They're teaching people how to do this. I'm interested in having this person on my team. It's going to be a good culture fit, for instance.
Great, great. You are so good answering the questions.
I'm trying.
You are doing great, better than I would think. I have another question, which is, okay, now I know that how you can see people on LinkedIn and what are you expecting. But let's think, okay, you are the role owner, like you are searching people for a role, but you have this role on the LinkedIn. So it will appear the role and the specifications, requirements, and everything. And you sometimes it also appears the person, like the HR person that is ruling that specific role. Is it a good idea to try to talk to the person if, okay, I'm very interested on that, I really think that my capabilities and my the responsibilities you are asking is a real good match? Is it a good idea to talk to the HR person? And if it is, how can we do that and be like someone that that HR will respond?
For sure. So I think today, in today's environment, applying in general is tough. Each job posting has not 10 or 20 applicants, but they've got hundreds of applicants, right? If you apply to a job that's 4 or 5 days old, it might have 500 applicants already, right? So to stand out is very tough by just applying. So everything we've spoken to so far talks about when someone looks at your profile, this is what they want to see. But we haven't spoken about how to get someone to look at your profile,
Yeah.
right? And I think there's a fine line there. So I think one thing is to differentiate yourself. So to have a resume, have a clean, robust resume, nothing too wordy, fairly standard to, for instance, the Canadian market, right? With your LinkedIn profile and all your different links. I've spoken to you about this before, even, but having tangible results of what you've done and actionable plans of, I've implemented this front-end website, which generated twice as many leads for this role, or twice as many applicants, for instance, or I'm working on an e-commerce. I built a new e-commerce site. Before they had 2,000 monthly visitors. Now they have 10,000 monthly visitors,
Okay.
right? So to have tangible results of what your efforts have done, right? Speaking about how to network, the first thing I would do if I find a company that I'm interested in, maybe I've worked in a similar industry before or a very similar project before where I feel like I can add value, I would look to see if I know anyone working at that company yet already. If you have someone that's worked at that company, it may be a better channel to go through them, right? Because first off, a lot of companies will give internal referrals, right? So if an employee refers someone, they actually might get a paid day off or $1,000 or whatever, reward that they give internally. At the same time, if someone internally refers someone, HR almost has to speak to them because otherwise they feel obliged to speak to them. So at the very least, going through someone to get that phone call will increase the chances of someone speaking with you. Even if you don't get the job, at least you've spoken to someone internally, which will get you there. So if you know someone at these companies, I would definitely leverage that experience or that connection and try to go in through there. If you don't know anybody, it's not a bad idea to reach out to HR, but come up with something clever. Do some research on the company, understand the market that they're in, read a couple of articles about what happened with the company that you can leverage that in the message out to them, right? You could reach out to the hiring manager if you think you know who the hiring manager is, or you could reach out to the HR. It depends which approach you want. But for instance, if you see a front-end developer posting up, and you see the manager of front-end web development on LinkedIn, you could reach out to them. And then you also see an article saying that they just raised 20 million in funding in July of this year. You could reach out and say, hi Manny, I know that you're hiring, or I see the posting up here that you're hiring. I know there's an HR responsible for this, but I want to congratulate you guys on the recent round of funding. I see you're in the e-commerce space. Here's my personal profile. I've done something similar, for instance. Trying to gauge interest and trying to gauge spark a conversation will again have someone at least look at your resume, right? Look at your LinkedIn profile, and when they look at it, they can then decide if they want to interview you or not.
Perfect. That's great. Yeah, this kind of things will make sure if you are the next person to be like on the interview or not, right? That's some of the things that I say here on the channel, and people are a little bit like tired of hearing me saying is that you need to make something different, right? You need to make people pay attention to what you're saying. So the way you're doing that is making this kind of things different. And there is a lot of people, mainly in Brazil, I feel like that, because maybe here in Canada is a little bit different, but in Brazil, people are a little bit concerned of talking to other people on LinkedIn because they are afraid of, oh, the guy it's working, I'm going to be bothering him. But what I like to say is that I don't know if I am a manager and I already interviewed people for Lexop and for other companies. And if I am the recruiter or if I am the manager or something like that, and I want someone for that position, if the person what I'm asking on the requirements, or it's close what I'm asking, and it's coming to me to talk about the position, it means that that person really cares about it. As a manager, I would love to have this person working for me because he came to me to talk about it. That will make me feel like he really wants that job and will make the difference inside.
He also takes initiative and is not scared to do stuff. So yeah,
Perfect.
and if you think about it, cold calling someone, so if they had your number and calling you during the day, it would bother you. But shooting you a message, you don't have to answer right away. I've got now 5-6 messages waiting. I'm not answering them, right? So it's okay when you have time, either on the train home, on the bus home, on your walk home, I don't know, in between lunch or between meetings, that's when you'll catch up on these. And you're right. If someone reaches out to you that's relevant for the role, that shows their profile and makes, gets your interest. On the other side, it's like, okay, this person knows what they're doing. I was looking to hire for this. The posting is up there. Either I go through the portal and there's 500 applicants, or I go on my LinkedIn messages. There might be 5-10 messages, but yours comes up. So the chances of me seeing your resume, seeing your LinkedIn profile, and engaging with you is higher than just another resume in the inbox.
Perfect. Great. Thank you for reinforcing that, because I say that so many times and it's hard to people understand that, but thank you very much. Okay, we talk a lot about like interviews and how to apply. And I have a last question related to that, which is, do you think there is another website that people could search for, use besides LinkedIn? It's not that it will be one another, but will help to receive more interviews or anything like that?
Yeah. So it depends. If you're looking for a job board that has a bunch of different jobs in there, you can use Indeed or ZipRecruiter or Monster, just to name a couple of these, job boards out there. Indeed does a very good job of pulling in job postings from everywhere, right? If you're looking for something specific and you're doing some research, you can apply directly to their websites.
Yeah.
So if you're looking to join one of the banks in Canada, we only have about 5 banks. So you can go to the website and find the company, apply to the job. But if you're looking for instance, startups specifically, you could also find lists online. They have some job boards. I think it's Angel List, I think, is one of them that's specific to startups, and they have a job board within there. But you could even find, if you search recently funded companies, Canada, and find growing companies, scaling companies, and then you can go to their website. They're likely hiring, right?
Perfect.
And then your intro will be very similar. So you already know, you found these top 50 companies that in 2023 received funding. It's the same message going out to all 50 of them, right?
All right. Clever. I got it. Yeah, no, very clever. It's good to ask because, like, I know that LinkedIn is very, very important. If it's your first job as tech world or develop QA and you really want it, doing all those things together will make the difference, right? One time on another. That's the thing that I always say. Like, you just need one response, one answer saying yes. So as many times you try, it will make your percentage of being relevant and being chosen by this company will be way better, right? So it's great. Diversity is very, very good.
If we're also targeting people just getting into the market, I would say one thing that I tell everyone is don't be picky. Your first job is not going to be the job you have in 2 years. When you join as a junior, you're learning the whole time. You're not really giving them anything, you're learning, right? So the first job, even if it's not the best pay, even if it's not the best company, even if it's not the best position, you're doing maintenance, you're not doing new stuff, it's okay.
Yeah.
Get in there, work 6 months, work 8 months, work a year and a half, whatever the number is, but gain from them. Keep learning from them, because it's a lot more beneficial to learn while being paid. It doesn't matter what the salary is. And then doing side projects at home, which are not relevant, which you can't relate to and you can't use, it's not as effective as working for a company. And again, even if the pay is not the best or the company's not as appealing, it doesn't matter. At least you're having production level experience versus
Perfect.
personal projects.
And while you are doing that, if you are targeting a level or a kind of company or a type of specific job you want to do, you can also do the side projects trying to target the companies that you want to work. So, okay, I did like this automation for a specific e-commerce and you want to work for an e-commerce company. So you will be doing that besides, and you also have market experience, which is great. And one of the things that I always say that the hard part of the tech is getting the first job.
Yes,
After
always.
that, at least on my side, after I'm getting the job as a QA and have experience as a QA, I was unemployed if I wanted. Because if I didn't, it would be very, very easy to find. So the first step is the hardest, but the other ones are very normal.
You're absolutely right. Because, for instance, you're talking about testing. If you get a job doing manual testing and you don't want a job for the rest of your life manual testing, however, you got in manual testing. First off, you have the opportunity, likely internally, to get into automation if the company does automation.
Perfect.
Right? And they'll pay you to learn that, right, to get into it. Or if you work for a company and on the side you're doing automation testing and doing courses, when you do speak to the next hiring manager and they say, well, Manny, you got manual experience, but I want automation, you can say, yes, unfortunately, my last company was all manual. However, I want to do automation. So on my personal time, this is what I've done. And it shows that you care, you want to get there, you're putting the time and effort into learning things. And that's a whole different skill set that hiring managers do look for.
Perfect. Great. And also, right, people will know that you're doing, right? So you have to post on LinkedIn, make it comments about it, because then people will know that you have it, right? Having it on GitHub is very, very good, but showing that you have it on GitHub is even better.
Even better. So once you complete something, if you complete a course or you complete a project or you complete something, a quick post on LinkedIn, having it on GitHub. People sometimes have the idea of, I just built a new transit application, right?
Yeah.
And they're hiding all their code. No one cares about your code. No one's stealing your code.
True.
If there's more value of you having it out there than you hiding it.
Perfect. Great.
Right.
That's true. Time, eu espero que vocês tenham gostado. Por favor, não se esqueçam de dar like. Vai estar aparecendo um botão aí para vocês poderem dar um like, né? Curtir o nosso conteúdo. A gente traz conteúdo semanalmente, então aproveita e se inscreve, segue a nossa página. E se você tiver alguma pergunta, né, relacionada aí às coisas que a gente falou no vídeo, por favor, deixe nos comentários. Eu posso trazer aí as respostas para vocês, ok? E se você também conhece alguém que vai se beneficiar desse vídeo, compartilha com ele, que eu tenho certeza que vai ser muito legal, porque esse conteúdo tá muito legal. Bem, espero que vocês tenham um ótimo dia e tchau, tchau!